First and foremost thing, the top 50 most oops concepts that are repeated in all years, in previous years, I am going to discuss on this channel in this video now. So this video would be regarding 50 most top 50 asked interview question of oops concepts which are asked in any object oriented programming interview. So if you are preparing for any Java interview, any Python interview, anything, so oops concept must be theoretical and it should be revised for good understanding and giving the best answers that you can. So in this video we would be covering top 50 object oriented programming interview question with answers. I will be telling you the questions which are mostly asked. I have highlighted the question, you can see I have properly designed this so you can uh, get a better understanding of the questions that are repeatedly asked in any interview process, whether you are preparing for any college viva interview or technical interview at any company. So these are the questions that are mostly repeated in any interview process. So I'm going to discuss top 50 interview question of oops which are regularly repeating in all the years. So I have highlighted with the green color box, green check box, green box of the question. This is the questions which I have highlighted with the green box, and below is the answer that is mentioned over here. You can check the PDF where after a green box there is an two line of answers, that is the correct definition. These are the correct and proper research definition of the question that you are really supposed to give for a interview to a interviewer. If he she asks you a question, then these are the proper answers of the with the help explanation I'm going to provide. These are the correct and logical answers that you have to answer to a interviewer for a good better understanding and to boost your profile, and it would be add a great advantage if you give these kind of answers to an interviewer. So it would create you from rest of the candidates, you would be further. So I recommend you to utilize this PDF. If you're really interested, if you want this PDF, I would be definitely sharing this link of the PDF to download it for free for you all guys. So mention in the comment box that you need a PDF of this kind of questions. Totally, I have researched 50 top questions of oops interview question with answers, with proper answers of each question, with proper definition, flowcharts wherever needed, and examples wherever needed. It, everything is covered in entire this PDF. So if you want this PDF, comment down that you need a PDF. So I will be providing to uh, the link of the PDF in the description box as well as in the comment box if you need. So we will going to discuss top 50 oops interview question today. So this video would be regarding 50 object oriented programming interview question with answers. Whether you are preparing for a software developer role, cracking any Java Python interview, or just brushing up your oops concept, this video would be a one-stop solution for all your questions and answers. So let's begin and start. Let's dive in master oops the smart way. So moving on to the first question that would be asked. So basically before going to any interview, you should know if the interview is related to oops concept. If you know or you don't know, you should know the basic concept of oops. This is really important for an engineering student. So what is oops? So basically the first question would be what is oops. These are kind of 50 questions that are mostly repeated, so we would be discussing each question with proper answer and explanation. So moving on to first question, what is oops? So basically before knowing what is oops, you should know why oops, how you oops, and where oops is used, why oops is needed, what are the four concepts and four pillars of oops, where we use the oops. So basically, while answering any question to the answers, so you should explain the interviewer that why you need oops, where you use oops, and how it is helpful. You should connect your answers with logical, uh, real world examples. Connect with logical real world in your own examples. Explain him a real life or real world examples. Tell him the flowchart, draw a flowchart. Explain him with a diagram. Take a pen and paper. Use proper description. Use proper diagrams. Use proper examples. Connect with real world logic examples and tell him this is the answer that you are expected. So he would be, it would be a great advantage for you and for interviewer as well to bifurcate rest of the candidates. So I personally suggest you to explain him with the help of flow charts, proper diagram, proper explanation, connect with real world examples, and many more. Let's check out the first question that is asked. What is OOPS? So basically OOPS. So I want to ask, what is OOPS? Before moving on to what is OOPS, why we need OOPS? You should know why we need OOPS. So you should answer why you need OOPS. So OOPS stands for object oriented programming. You should explain him. It is used, why we use OOPS? It is used to structure software using objects that contains data and methods that operates on data. So the approach promotes modularity, reusability, maintainability. OOPS makes it easier to develop and manage complex software systems. So we use OOPS because of modularity, reusability, maintainability, code organization, data hiding and security, real world modeling, and flexibility and scalability. OOPS concepts like polymorphism inheritance allows us for flexible and scalable systems that can adapt to changing requirements. You should explain all these kind of points and mention a proper description along with proper example. Then we use OOPS for improved debugging as well. So in short, OOPS provides a powerful framework for building robust, scalable, and maintainable software system. While using OOPS concepts like objects, classes, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism, you should explain each and everything in detail. Why we need OOPS, where we use OOPS, how we use OOPS, everything. So moving on to the first question, let's discuss what is OOPS. If the question is asked what is OOPS, you can tell him in a proper, in a short and crisp and in a good way that OOPS is an abbreviated as object oriented programming system in which programs are considered as a collection of objects. Each object is nothing but an instance of a class. You should highlight him the collection of objects and an instance of class as I have highlighted with the color. You can check. OOPS is an object oriented programming system in which programs are considered as collection of objects. Each object is nothing but an instance of a class. This is a short and sweet answer for a particular question. This answer is the best answer for what is OOPS. Then moving on to the second, write basic concepts of OOPS. If this question is asked, write basic concepts of OOPS, then you should write in pen and paper with help of proper uh, diagram. Make a boxes of these four kind of boxes where we use OOPS. OOPS concepts in Java. OOPS is used in Java, Python for object-oriented programming. We use the first step would be abstraction, second would be encapsulation, third would be inheritance, fourth would be polymorphism. Why we use these four kind of uh, concepts in OOPS? What is the need? How we use? What are the proper example? Why we need? You can explain all this him in a basic detail if you want to get selected and shortlisted for further interview process. But the question here asked is write basic concepts of OOPS. You can directly tell him and draw these four boxes and explain him with the proper diagram and flowchart. Basic concepts of OOPS. Objects, what are objects? You should explain him and tell him what are objects, what are classes, what we use inheritance, where we use polymorphism, why we need encapsulation, why we need data abstraction. Everything should be explained and written in a well proper description and well maintained flowcharts and use diagrams with the help of real world examples. So the third question is what is classes? Wherever you feel this question is important or this answer might be asked in interview, if you get an intuition that it would be at a great advantage for you, then take a screenshot, pause a video, think of a question, then answer it. If you don't know, take a screenshot and revise for future revision, or it can act as a source of revision as well while watching this video. But take a screenshot, I recommend you. Then the third question would be what is a class? So a class is simply a representation of a type of object. This is the main point. It is the blueprint, plan, template that describes the details of an object. So you should explain why we use classes in OOPS, why we need class, why we use objects. You can explain him with the help of this diagram. I shown the car object. Car is a class and many cars are an object. You can check Audi, BMW and Mercedes. These are the examples. You can connect class with objects. A class is simply a representation of a type of object. It is a blueprint plan template that describes the details of an object. You should tell these keywords. These are the most important keywords. Then the fourth question would be, what is an object? An object is, this is the answer, an object is an instance of a class. Then I have written full stop. It has its own state, comma, behavior and identity. This is the most and foremost important thing that you should mention in your answer while answering to an interviewer, that what is an object. If asked by an interviewer to a candidate, then a candidate must mention an object is an instance of a class. It has its own state, behavior and identity. Moving on to the fifth question, what is encapsulation? Encapsulation, why we use encapsulation, where we use encapsulation, how we use encapsulation, where encapsulation is needed. You can mention everything in detail after giving a proper definition and explanation of this question. The first definition would be, encapsulation is an attribute of an object. This is the important term. Encapsulation is an attribute of an object, and it contains all data which is hidden. That hidden data can be restricted to a member of that class. So levels are public, protected, private, internal and protected internal. You can draw a diagram of encapsulation where you can show classes. Then in classes you can divide it in methods and variables. You can use a proper example of encapsulation for further and in brief detail if asked by an interviewer. The next question would be, what is polymorphism? Polymorphism is nothing but assigning a behavior or value in a subclass or something that was already declared in main class. Simply polymorphism that takes more than one form. So this is the good, short and perfect answer for a question that interviewer is expecting. You can explain him what is polymorphism, types of polymorphism in detail if you are interested. You can explain him runtime polymorphism and etc. More, moving on to the further details, you can tell him in short that polymorphism is nothing but assigning a behavior or a value in subclass to something that was already declared in main class. Simply polymorphism that takes more than one value. Same behavior given to generalizing, same behavior but implemented differently. This is the answer that you should give. What is polymorphism? Moving on to the seventh, what is inheritance? Inheritance is the basic concept. By reading the word inheritance, you can understand the term why we use inheritance. Inheritance is just a simple concept. So the answer of inheritance is a concept where one class shares the structure and behavior. You can check structure and behavior defined in another class. And this is the important thing. If inheritance applied to one class, then is called single inheritance. And if it depends on multiple classes, then it is called multiple inheritance. There are many types of inheritance. You can explain him in detail with the drawing diagram, like super class, base class, subclass, where how you have derived inheritance. There are types of inheritance like single inheritance, multiple inheritance, hybrid inheritance, tree inheritance. You can explain him with diagram like tree inheritance. You can explain multiple inheritance. Then you can explain him tree inheritance. There are many kind of inheritance you can explain, but in a short and crisp way and a manner, a short answer that you have supposed to give to an interviewer. If asked what is inheritance, inheritance is a concept where one class shares the structure and behavior defined in another class. If inheritance applied to one class is called single inheritance, and if depends on multiple classes, then it is called multiple inheritance. The main concept of inheritance is nothing but where one class shares the structure and behavior defined in another class. This is a simple concept why we use inheritance. Then moving on to the eighth question, what are manipulators? Manipulators are the functions which can be used in conjunction with the insertion symbol and extraction symbol. You can see these operators on an object. Examples are given. You can read. The main question and the ninth question would be, this is the most asked question in every interview process or a college viva interview. You can check, explain the term constructor, where most of the candidates fail to answer what is constructor, why we use constructor. You should know the basic details of constructors and destructor. where we use constructor and where we use destructor. So the answer of this question would be a constructor is a method used to initialize the state of an object, and it gets invoked at the time of an object creation. These are the two basic rules of constructor. You given below, you can check. The first one is constructor name should be same as class name, and the second is a constructor must have no return type. These are the two basic rules that you should mention in your answer. The answer of the question: explain the term constructor. You should explain a constructor is nothing but a method used to initialize the state of object, and it get invoked at the time of object creation. This is the most important word that you should mention in your answer. It constructor gets invoked at the time of object creation. Rules for constructor are: constructor name should be same as the class name. This is the first and foremost and the basic rule that you should mention. Constructor name should be same as a class name. Second is a constructor must have no return type. If the question asked tell the difference between constructor and destructor, then you can tell the difference between constructor and destructor. Take a proper pen page where provide the difference, tell him examples, connect with real world examples, make sure your answer should match the correct definition. Then you can explain what is the basic difference of constructor and destructor. You can take a screenshot of this table, constructor and destructor. What are the differences? uh, the name of constructor functions in same as that of class. The name of destructor function is same as that of class preceded by. You can read and take a screenshot. Moving on to the 10th question, that is define destructor. So the answer of the destructor is: a destructor is a method which is automatically called when the object is made off scope or destroyed. Destructor name is also named as class name but with tilde symbol before the name. Moving on to the 11th question, what is inline function? If inline function is asked, you can answer: an inline function is a technique used by compilers and instructs to insert complete body of the function whether the function is used in the program source code. This is the highlighted word. You can check, this is the highlighted sentence, that an inline function is a technique used by compilers and instructs to insert complete body of the function wherever that function is used in program source code. Moving on to the 12th, what is virtual function? If question is asked what is virtual function, you can answer this answer: a virtual function is a member function of a class and its functionality can be overridden in its derived class. This function can be implemented by using a keyword called virtual, and it can be given during the function declaration. This is a simple concept of virtual function. A virtual function can be declared using a token in C++. Then it can be achieved in many languages by using function pointers or pointer to function. You can uh, tell the answer. This is an OR. You can just tell a virtual function from here, marking it from here to the function declaration. You can provide till this. No need of giving this example or answer. Don't use the second one, use the first one. You can use this. Then moving on to the third, what is a friend function? So basically, what is friend function? So you should understand why we use friend function. So if the answer question is asked why we used friend function, then you can directly describe. A friend function is a friend of class that is allowed to access to public, private or protected data in that same class. I am highlighting with the red color to highlight to understand the basic and main important points that you should include in your answer. Make sure wherever I am highlighting, you should include those points in your answer of a question. So what is friend function? I have told you, if the function is defined outside of that class cannot access such information. A friend function can be declared anywhere in the class declaration and it cannot be affected by access control keywords like private, public or protected. Moving on to the fourth question. This is the most important question that is asked in every interview, which is asked in many years of experience of the interview as well. For the senior members, what is function overloading? They get confused sometimes. they don't know the proper definition of function overloading, you can take a screenshot of this as well. So why we use function overloading, you can explain where we use function loading and how we use function overloading. Give him a proper example as I have mentioned below, a proper example of function overloading, then a proper flowchart or a diagram. Take a pen, paper, and impress the interview with help of a proper flowchart that has been mentioned. Overloading, then from overloading, operator overloading, function overloading. Then in the question, if asked what is function overloading, then you can answer function overloading is a regular function, but it is assigned with multiple parameters. It allows the creation of several methods with the same name, which differs from each other by the type of input and output of the function. You can provide the answer. Then moving on to the 15th question, what is operator overloading? So in function in overloading, you can see I have shown you in function in overloading you have two types of overloading. One is operator overloading and second one is function overloading. So what we have covered, what is function overloading. Now moving on to the 15th, what is operator overloading? Operator overloading is a function where different operators are applied and depends on the argument. Operators such as you can check can be used to pass through the function and it has its own precedence to execute. This is the important term highlighted. So what is operator overloading? You can answer this answer. Moving on to the 16th question, what is an abstract class? This is the important question again. This is a star question. Star, star, star. Repeated question. What is abstract class? An abstract class, answer is given. An abstract class is a class which cannot be instantiated. So you can read the answer. An abstract class is a class which cannot be instantiated. Creation of an object is not possible with an abstract class, but it can be inherited. An abstract class can contain only an abstract method. This is an important term. Java allows only abstract method in abstract class, while other languages allow non-abstract method as well. So abstract is a class keyword which cannot be instantiated. Creation of an object is not possible with an abstract class. If you use an abstract class in your code while compiling or while you coding, where in a Java, if for example, if you consider Java language where abstract class is used, if you use abstract keyword or a class, then object creation is not at all possible, but it can be inherited. Abstract class can contain only abstract method. So this is an important point where you can mention that Java allows only abstract method in abstract class while other languages allow non-abstract method as well. Moving on to the 17th, what is ternary operator? A ternary operator is said to be an operator which takes three arguments. Arguments and results are of different data types and it depends on the function. The ternary operator is also called a conditional operator. Moving on to the 18th question, what is use of finalize method? Finalize method helps to perform cleanup operations on the resources which are not currently used. Finalize method is protected and it is accessible only through the class or by a derived class. So we use a final keyword in Java language as well. So finalize method helps to perform cleanup operations on the resources which are not currently used. You can explain him the proper answer for a question that is asked. Moving on to the next question, what are different types of arguments? So a parameter is a variable used during the declaration of the function or subroutine. An argument are passed to the function body and it should match with parameter defined. So there are basically two types of arguments. You should answer what is argument, where we use argument, and give him two types of arguments. Tell the interviewer that two type of arguments are call by value and call by reference. Where we use call by value and what is meant by call by reference. If value passed and if it get modified only inside the function, this is the important thing. If value passed and get modified only inside the function and it returns the same value whatever it is passed into the function is called call by value. And call by reference means a value passed will get modified in both inside and outside the function and it returns the same or different value. You can explain him what is called by value, what is called by reference, based on your own words as well, but you should include these important points that is mentioned over here. What is super keyword? Why we use super keyword? So super keyword is used to invoke overridden methods which overrides one of its super classes. So you can explain him why we use super classes if asked, why we use super keyword in Java as well. So this keyword allows us to access overridden methods and also to access hidden members of super classes. So the main use of super class is mentioned over here. It also forwards a call from constructor to a constructor in the super class. So moving on to the next question, what is method overriding? So there are two types of method overriding and method overloading. We'll discuss method overloading if asked. Method overriding is a feature that allows a subclass to provide the implementation of a method that overrides in main class. It will override the implementation in the superclass by providing the same method name, same parameters, and same return type. You can explain this answer, read it, learn it, revise it. I know these kind of keywords or a sentence framework is maybe hard for some people, but these are is the simple thing that you should answer. Every interviewer asking a question, then he or she might be expecting the same type of keywords, but you can explain in your own words as well. No need to learn it or revise it. Just understand the main concept behind every question and answers. Think why we use, how we use, and where we use basically, and explain in your own words. Not necessary that you should answer the same definition that is mentioned over here on this PDF. You can answer as in your own words, connect with real logic world examples, connect with diagrams, flowcharts, explain him and enjoy the interview, smile and give a proper answers. So no need to worry and learn all these theoretical proper definitions. Understand the main logic and concept behind every question. Answer in your own words, draw diagrams, draw flowcharts, provide examples, connect with logic real world examples, and explain the answer. That's it. Moving on to the next question, what is an interface? An interface is a collection of an abstract method. If class implements an interface, it thereby inherits all the abstract methods of an interface. So this is an important point. You can check Java uses interface to implement multiple inheritances. So why we use interface? We use interface because it is a collection of an abstract method. We have to use interface because if the class implements an interface, it thereby inherits all the abstract methods of an interface. So Java is the only language which uses interface to implement multiple inheritance. The next question if asked is what is exception handling? So what is exception handling? What do you think? So an exception handling is nothing but it is a simple event that occurs during execution of program. Then exceptions can be of any type. It can be of runtime exception, error exceptions. Those exceptions are adequately handled through exception handling mechanism like try, catch, and throw keywords. You can explain this. Then what are the tokens? This is the simple thing that everyone should know. Why we use tokens, where we use tokens. In C language, in C programming also we use tokens. What are the C tokens? Why we use tokens? Tokens are the basic thing that every programmer should know. This is the most important thing. So you can explain why we use tokens, where we use tokens. Then if you go on to the definition of the tokens, you can explain a compiler recognize a token. How in compiler design, if you have studied a compiler design topic where tokens has been explained in detail, but the answer for what are tokens, then you can explain a token is nothing but it cannot be broken down into component elements. For example, keywords, identifiers, constants, string literals, and operator are example of tokens. You can show the diagram or a flowchart or a arrow mark shown here. Diagram like keywords, identifiers, constant, operators, and other separators. So you can use, why we use tokens. Tokens are the basic thing that is used in every code. Tokens are nothing but cannot be broken down into component elements. They are keywords, identifiers, literals, operators, examples. These are the examples of token. You can provide the examples. Then what is the main difference between overloading and overriding? If asked, then you should explain. So the answer is given on the screen. Overloading is static binding, whereas overriding is dynamic binding. You should tell the differences between overriding and overloading. Give the proper example with code writing in a pen and paper. Then overriding is a dynamic binding. Overloading is nothing but same method with different arguments, and it may or may not return equal value in same class itself. Then I have highlighted a proper definition of overriding. You can check. Overriding is the same method name with same argument and return type associated with class and its child class. Simple example and simple answer. The next question, what is main difference between class and object? This is the most repeated question which has asked in every interview. So you should know what is main difference between class and an object. So you can tell a proper definition of a object and class. It is not hard to remember as you think of. You can give a proper example and a diagram for this. You can provide a real world example like what is class, what is object, connect with real world entities. So if asked what is difference between class and object, give a proper definition of class and object and tell what is the difference between class and object. An object is an instance of a class. Object hold multiple information, but classes don't have any information. Definition of properties and function can be done in class and can be used by object. A class can have subclasses while an object don't have subobjects. Simple. What these are the differences. What is abstraction? This is a OOPS concept. What is abstraction? There are four pillars of abstraction. OOPS. So what are four pillars of OOPS? If asked, you should know. Abstraction, encapsulation. Abstraction is the first step that is done. Then encapsulation, then inheritance, then polymorphism. So abstraction is a useful feature of OOPS and it shows only necessary details to the client. So if for example, abstraction is also used in real world problems or real world scenarios. For example, if I give you, if you go to the hospital where doctor and patient are doing their own work, patient doesn't do any work, patient sits. But if doctor operates and patient, and in the front of his desk, in the front of the cabin of the main building of hospital, if asked to a patient information, what all information has been asked to relatives of a patient? Basically they will ask the patient name, age, gender, or any previous medical history records. These are the kind of thing that they would be asking. Would they be asking something related to what is a PAN card of a patient? No, they wouldn't be not asking what is the PAN card of the patient, what are the account details of patient. These are the things asked in a bank, not in a hospital. So abstraction is a useful feature used in OOPS. It shows only the necessary details to the client. What are the important details to extract from a user? That is called abstraction. Abstraction is a useful feature used in OOPS where it shows only the necessary details to the client of an object. Meaning it only shows, it is mentioned in the answer, you can check. It only shows only required details of an object, not the inner constructors of an object. Example, when you want to switch on the television, it is not necessary to know the inner circuitry mechanism needed to switch on the TV. Whatever required to a switch on the TV will be shown by using an abstract class. This is a simple answer and a simple example that I have recently now discussed. So you can tell all these kind of answers by forming with the help of your real world imaginary situations and answers. Give a proper and good answer with proper flowchart, diagram, mechanism, where we use, how we use, what are the type of things that we use, how we can connect with real world example. You can check the next answer of the question, what are access modifiers, described in a beautiful way. with help of proper diagram and flowchart and block diagrams, you can see what are access modifiers. Access modifiers determine the scope of method or variable that can be accessed from other various objects or classes. These are five types of access modifiers as they are follows. Though the five types of access modifiers has been mentioned, you can check. First one is private, protected, public, friend, and protected friend. You can draw this diagram and explain all the things that have been mentioned over here. You can take a screenshot as well of a question. Moving on to the 29th question, what are sealed modifiers? Sealed modifiers are the access modifiers where methods cannot inherit it. Sealed modifiers can also be applied to the properties, events, and methods. These modifiers cannot be used to a static members. Moving on to the 30th question, how can we call the base method without creating an instance? Oh, this is the great question. Yes, the answer would be yes or no. So you should tell yes, it is possible to call the base method without creating an instant, and that method should be static method. Doing inheritance from the class use base keyword from a derived class. What is difference between new and override? So the new modifiers instruct the compiler to use new implementation instead of the base class function, whereas override modifiers help you to override the base class function. You can give answer for the question that is been asked. This is an awesome question that is asked in every interview. What are various type of constructors? This is most asked and important question. Mark this question or take a screenshot of this question and answer as well, where in an interview they are asking what are various types of constructors. So you can explain with proper flowchart and diagram, or you can give a proper description of the answer to a question. So there are mainly three type of constructors: default constructor, parametric constructor, and a copy constructor. Default constructor where no parameters are used, then parametric constructor with parameters, create a new instance of class and also passing arguments simultaneously. Copy constructor which creates a new object as a copy of existing object. Simple answers. Then what is early and late binding? You can check and read. What is this pointer? You can read this as well. This is simply a keyword which is used as a pointer which differentiate between current object and global object. So the answer is given below. You can read this, why we use this pointer. Only this refers to a current object of a class, and you can explain with help of good diagram this as well. So what is difference between structure and a class? This is also an awesome and great question that is asked in every interview. What is different between structure and class? You can read. This is the definition of structure and class and why we use structure and class, and what is the difference between structure and class. Moving on to the 36th question, what is default access modifier in a class? So the default access modifier of a class is internal and default access modifier of a class member is private. This is the most important keywords that you should mention in answer. One is private. I am marking it. One is private and one is internal and default access modifier. You should maintain this sentence in your answer. Make sure you should maintain this sentence. The default access modifier of a class is internal and default access modifier of a class member is private. So from here you can mark another sentence. The default access modifier of a class member is private while the default access modifier of a class is internal. What is pure virtual function? So I have provided an example of pure virtual function. You can read the definition and example. What are operators? What are all the operators that cannot be overloaded? So these are the following operators that cannot be overloaded. Mark it or take a screenshot. If you want a complete PDF, comment down. I will provide the link of the PDF as well. What is dynamic or runtime polymorphism? This is important question. This is a great question. You should know. This is most important question. What is difference between dynamic or runtime polymorphism, or what is dynamic polymorphism, or what is runtime polymorphism? What are the difference between these two? You can read the answer that I have provided below. This is the crisp and short and good and correct answer. Then, do we require a parameter for constructor? What do you think? Do we really require a parameter for constructors? So the answer for this question is no, we don't need any, we do not require a parameter for constructors. Moving on to the 41st question, what is a copy constructor? So what do you think? What is copy constructor? So copy constructor, this is a special constructor for creating new object as a copy of existing object. So you can read, this is a special constructor for creating a new object as a copy of existing object. There will always be only one copy constructor that can be either defined by user or by the system. Then moving on to the next question, these are the simple question and the simple answers for one line answers I have mentioned below, you can check. So the correct logic and the conceptual clarity is most important than learning or by hearting the answers. You can give your own words, you can use the real world examples. There is not important, it is not necessary that you should definitely learn or by heart the answers to the particular question. Interviewer can ask any type of questions based on his own logic. He can trick a question, or he can jumble you, he can make you think a lot, and he can use the answer would be same, but he might be asking it with the help of different use cases. He might be using his own keywords, his own words. Because of those languages, the candidate fails to answer an interview because of, instead of giving the answers that he knows, he gets in trouble and he thinks something different, but the answer for that question is the same as he thinks of the earlier. So make sure you understand the question. After getting the question, after interviewer asks you any question, any particular question, listen proper question, think of the question, what is the answer of the question, how you will implement, take a time and answer it with proper description, flow charts, diagram, connecting it with real world examples and a correct and practical logic. So the 42 question is, what does the keyword virtual represented in method definition? It means we can override the method. Simple. Then 43, whether static method can use non-static members. So this is false. We cannot use a static method with non-static members. What are base class, subclass and superclass? This is the important thing. This is also repeated many times. What are base classes, subclasses and superclasses? A proper description and definition for each one is been mentioned. First definition is related to base class. Second one is related to subclass. Third one is related to superclass. Simple. Then 45th question, what is static and dynamic binding? This is also two important question which is repeated in many interviews. I have seen binding, what is static binding, what is dynamic binding. You can read and take a screenshot of this as well. Moving on to the 46th question, how many instances can be created for an abstract class? What do you think? How many instances can be created for an abstract class? According to the question, the answer should be 0. 0 instances will be created for an abstract class. So in other words, you cannot create an instance of an abstract class. This is a simple answer to the question. Many candidates also fail to give this kind of simple answers as well. So understand it, learn it, make sure you understand each and every concept in detail and revise it many times and take a proper screenshot, or if you want a complete PDF, comment out. Which keyword can be used for overloading? Operator keyword is used for overloading. Simple. Then 40th question would be, what is default access specifier in class definition? So private access specifier is used in class definition. 49th question would be, Which OOPS concept is used as a reuse mechanism? So what do you think? Which OOPS concept is used for a reuse mechanism? So basically, according to the OOPS concept, inheritance is the OOPS concept that can be used as a reuse mechanism. Then moving on to the last and good question, which is absolutely asked in many interviews. This is the last question of this video. We have almost covered 50 questions, top most asked 50 simple basic interview questions which are asked in every interview, whether you are preparing for any job roles or mainly for software roles or IT roles. So moving on to this fifth question, this is the last question that I would be discussing, and take a proper screenshot of this as well. So 50th question and the last question is, which OOPS concept exposes only the necessary information to the calling function? So what it could be? What do you think? So the answer is encapsulation. So encapsulation is a concept that exposes only the necessary information to the calling function. Yeah. So encapsulation is nothing but the wrapping up of data and function together into a single unit called encapsulation. Encapsulation is like, you can see the capsule, how the capsule look like. This is the kind of capsule or a tablet, not a tablet but a capsule. It's like this shape where classes is divided into objects or methods, where encapsulation is basically used to wrapping up data and function together. It is mainly used to wrap data, which is mentioned over here, you can see in a rectangle shape, and a function. By combining these two with addition into a single unit, so this entire thing is called encapsulation. The wrapping up of data and function together into a single unit is called encapsulation. Moving on to the 2 points that I have mentioned, this feature keeps the data safe from outside interface and misuse. This leads to a concept of data hiding. And the last point that is mentioned over here is, in programming languages like C++, encapsulation is achieved through user-defined data type classes. This is the important point that you should mention in every answer for a question if asked. Which OOPS concept exposes only the necessary information to the calling function? Encapsulation is the method of OOPS concept where we wrap up a data and function together into a single unit called encapsulation. So moving on to the last diagram that I have mentioned over here, you can see object oriented programming concept. This is the proper flowchart you can draw at the last of the interview. This is the main and golden tip. After completing your interview process, you can ask an interviewer, sir, can I show you a good flowchart of how the OOPS and object oriented programming concepts are used with proper diagram and flowchart? Give me just 5 minutes. Then in 5 minutes you can directly draw this to impress the interviewer, with help of your own real world examples and good proper understanding of the concept. Draw and show the flowchart that is mentioned over here. You can take a screenshot of this as well. After drawing this flowchart, I guarantee you would be definitely shortlisted or selected for an interview process based on personal experience. So draw this flowchart. This is simple. It looks like complicated, but if you understand, it is really great to understand and uh, improvise the things of harder things in a shorter way with help of this kind of flowcharts or diagrams. So take a screenshot of this as well and comment out for the full PDF. So we have covered almost all the 50 questions of OOPS. So stay tuned for further type of question. I am bringing still many questions, many videos. Stay tuned to the channel for job updates and proper alerts. If you want something that I should make in future, you can comment that as well based on your own interest and possibility. You can tell me what type of kind of video that you want in future. I will definitely make a video. This was the most asked and requested video from the audience, that top 50 interview question of OOPS that is been covered in this video.